Awesome. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Cole. I'm superintendent of the Roaring Fork Schools and just want to welcome community members, Roaring Fork School District staff, current board members, and our candidates for the open board positions. We're so glad you're here this evening to meet candidates and learn more about their skills, interests, and hopes for the future of the Roaring Fork School District. And I just want to take a few minutes just to kind of frame this evening and the work we're going to do together. You know, the strongest asset of a Roaring Fork Schools education is the diversity that's reflected in our student population and our community. This is often rare in small rural communities. And what we know from the research in education is that when students learn with children from different cultural, linguistic, socioeconomic, religious, and political backgrounds, they build essential skills in communication, conflict resolution, critical thinking, creativity, and cultural competence. And these are critical skills for a life of success. Tonight, we are privileged to have candidates volunteering for a very difficult position who reflect the political diversity of our community. This is a gift. We are incredibly grateful for the opportunity to listen to each other, to learn from each other, and to model for our kids who are always watching how we navigate differences with respect, kindness, and small town values. For example, we know that even with our diverse political viewpoints, socioeconomic backgrounds, cultures, and languages here in the Roaring Fork Valley, we have much more in common than the current national political climate would suggest. We know, for example, we know that our kids are brilliant and they deserve great schools. We know that our families care deeply about their children's education and are the first and most important educators that a child has. We know that our staff and teachers care deeply about their students and are deeply committed to their students' well-being and academic success. We also know that the Roaring Fork Schools have an obligation to the community to ensure children have the enduring knowledge, skills, and character to thrive in a changing world. And we know that as the Roaring Fork Schools, we still have room for improvement, and it will take all of us working together to achieve our ambitious goals. So with that in mind, let's remember that the kids are watching and we have the opportunity to show them how right here at a very local level, we can work together respectfully and with compassion to support strong schools and strong communities. So with that, I'd like to introduce Charlie DeFord. He is a longtime Glenwood Springs High School educator, teacher, and current president of the Roaring Fork Community Education Association, who is co-hosting this event.
Thank you, Anna. The past 20 years has kind of punctuated to me the power of public education. We have kids walk in our doors, as Anna kind of highlighted, from a whole wide array of experiences. And there isn't a single lever in our culture, in our society that can change their futures more than the work we do in our schools. And I am so thankful that there are 4 people here who are willing to volunteer. And some of you guys who are board members out here in the audience can attest to this, and certainly Catherine can attest to this, but you are going to be devoting hours and hours of your time. And for that, we are grateful. Teachers really is who I'm standing up here for today. And I can tell you, at the high school I work at, there are brilliant teachers who are dedicated, who spend far more than the 7 hours that school is in session thinking about students, thinking about how to help them, reaching out to their families, building community. And I hope that 2 of you and 3 of you or 4 of you can kind of talk about all of those values today. And with that, I will turn it back over to Alicia.
Where to point it?
Yeah.
It should just.
That better? That's way better. Even sitting down, I have to move the mic down. It's just the bane of my existence. I'll never be tall enough. So you'll have 2 minutes to answer 4 different questions. We'll go in order. Each one of you will have a chance to be the first one, and then we'll go on down the line. This is not a debate format. I do have an understanding that you have more forums coming up that might come into play, but today is really the opportunity for you to introduce yourself to the community and for the audience to get to know you. So you'll have 2 minutes of just opening statements. We'll go through the 4 questions, and then we'll be closing statements. So if you can't get in some of the stuff you want to say during your time, or if there's something that comes up that you would like to rebut, my suggestion would be that you save it for those closing statements. If something cuts you off, we do have a timer going, so get cut off at 2 minutes so we can make it through so everyone has equal time. I'm just hoping you'll agree to that one. Thank you so much. One teacherly thing to say to the crowd here is please silence your cell phones. It took me a minute to figure out how to get my vibrate and all the things stopping, so I'll let you make sure that you're silent and have a good talk tonight. Thank you. We have lost the slides for a minute, but we also have the question up on the screen for the benefit of our Spanish language speakers, our candidates who will have heard the questions for the first time and maybe look at them. So if we could get the slides back up. And get those back up on the screen. I'll just go through the list. I do believe this is how you will see the names on your ballot as well. So the candidates vying for District A are Jody Barr and Tammy Lee. Tammy Lowe. Candidates vying for District E are Elizabeth Taylor and Catherine Kronberg. Jody, you're the first one to my left, the way it's seated, and I believe the way we'll see it on the ballot. So we're going to begin with you. Make sure the clock is ready. The opening is just your moment, 2 minutes of opening statement to introduce yourself. And I believe we'll get that started when you start. Jordan, give me your time back because it sounds like maybe your mic isn't on. So I'm going to ask each candidate right now to look, they did this for me too, and make sure there's a green light. And if so, just make sure you're getting close enough to that microphone that it's projecting.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's working. Yeah. It's working.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll start with you, Jody.
Okay. Hi, thanks for being here, everyone. My name is Jody Barr, and yes, I'm running for Roaring Fork School Board. My 3 priorities are academic excellence, student wellness, and one community working together. Whereas that sounds common for, we're all kind of running on those similar things. I'm very passionate about education. I used to be a preschool teacher. I ran summer camps. I'm also a grandmother of kids that live in the school district, and I run a business. So I feel like the skills that I've learned that I will bring to the school board.
Thank you so much. Tammy will allow for a reset. Welcome to start your opening statement.
Hi, my name is Tammy Luna. Also excited about running for the board. I started substituting when my oldest son was about to enter kindergarten. He was born with a rare medical condition. It's going to be a whole lot for the schools to handle. Mentally, he was brilliant, but had some physical issues. And so I got in there and started subbing. I ended up subbing all up and down the valley for 9 years. I got to be in a lot of the different schools, which I really enjoyed, but whoa, it's hard. And then when my youngest son started school, his first grade, I think, I got involved in the PTO at Crystal River Elementary. And I ended up leading that for a few years. It was also so much fun to work with the kids, to work with the parents. We did super creative things like make floats for the Potato Day Parade. We raised a whole bunch of money at different fundraisers so that we could provide extra things for the teachers that they couldn't get with normal funding. And then 4 years ago, there was an open spot and I thought maybe I would run, but then Kenny Teitler was going to run. And I thought, no, I would rather vote for Kenny. So I stepped back. And so then I was surprised when I heard Kenny was not going to rerun. I thought, well, I think this is the next right step for me. I am a school servant until my son probably graduates, and then we'll see. Maybe I still will. I don't know.
Thanks so much, Tina. We're getting our 2 minutes on the clock, and Elizabeth, I will turn to you for opening statements.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Taylor. I am also running for school board. I've been an engaged and involved parent and community member for the past few years since my son was going to school here at Roaring Fork High School. I've been going to board meetings and wellness committee meetings, work sessions, family advisory council meetings, and have been recently elected to the District Accountability Committee, which I'm finding very fascinating. I get to learn a lot about what's going on, sort of the background of how things are working and with the board. I also find the work sessions also very fascinating. It's a good way to find out how decisions are made and conversations between the board members. I really value dialogue. These ways that I've been involved in, actually, they've been interesting as a fly on the wall, but I really, really appreciate better dialogue with people. And so I also think that it would be really great if we could include in our communication with the public more town halls and the coffee talks. When I was involved in some of those, I thought they were really helpful and gave me a sense that my voice was being heard. And as for things that I find really important, I'd like to be, if I get elected to the board, an advocate and somebody to represent the parents and let them know that I will assist them in being involved and in charge of all decisions that are being made about their kids at schools. I think it's very important for parents to feel like they know what is going on with their children. And yeah, that's my main thing that I find important.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
Catherine, please give us your opening statement.
Thank you. First of all, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to everyone who is up here at this table. I know it's not an easy step to take, but it's super important for our community and our schools. I'm a parent of 3 children in our district currently. I have a 5th grader, a 3rd grader, and a 1st grader. So I have, I think, in my own opinion, the 3 most important reasons in the world to be sitting here and to ensure that our schools are excellent for every child who steps foot into our classrooms. A little bit about me. I have a degree in education policy, navigating the public school system, as well as a JD, a Juris Doctorate, a law degree with a focus on education policy. Currently, my profession is that I am a preschool director. I'm working directly with kids 3 days a week still because I love it. And I think that they are the happiest and best touchstone to reality for anyone to have in their life. And they really put things into perspective consistently. I've been on the board for 4 years. I served as chair for almost all of those, and I'm super proud of a lot that we've accomplished in the last 4 years, and I'm excited to continue this work and continue to be engaged. My priorities this time around are 1, to continue to recruit and retain high quality staff and teachers. I think that we are uniquely situated here and we have some considerations in our valley that make it especially difficult for us. And I think everyone's aware of that. School safety and security is also one of my priorities. I think that everyone in America right now understands the importance and the gravity of that situation. Also to stem declining enrollment in our schools. And finally, to continue to push for data-driven, student-focused efforts to close the achievement gap. So to round it out, thank you all for being here. I appreciate the time, and thank you RFCEA and the district for hosting.
Beautiful buzzer beater. Okay, let's go on to the questions. Again, each one of you will have the opportunity to start. Jody, we'll start with you again to my furthest left. Let me make sure I can get it up there for you. Please describe in elements the role of a board member and how you would approach the requirements and the rigors of the role. And you have 2 minutes on the clock when you start.
Okay, so put in your own words, the role of a board member and how you would approach the requirements and rigors of the role. A board member serves to oversee, obviously, the district budget, curriculum. The superintendent is, I think, looks to the board for guidance. And we are also part of the voice of the community. Or we want to have that that piece of connecting to the community and parents and teachers. Plays a lot of roles, actually, and I'm still learning all of what they are. I won't pretend to be an expert. But I feel that there's, just being an advocate for children as part of that role, protecting children. Again, making sure our schools are safe, making sure people want to come to our schools, that we have a school district that people are excited about. And those, there's many facets of being on a school board. But I think that, it's, like I said, I'll have to learn on the job, but I believe that I have so many skill sets coming in that I feel that I would be really a good person to be on the board, a fresh perspective, bringing a lot of skills that I have that I think could be beneficial.
Thank you, Jody. Same question to every candidate. Tammy, we're going to go to you next. Please describe as the role of the board member and how you would approach the requirements and rigors of the role.
Well, it's going to sound a little bit like what Jody said. The role of a board member is to support the administration that's there, to support Dr. Cole and to support the mission and the strategic plan that they have in place. It's our job to work as a team and to make things happen as a team. We are not individuals, so we don't get to decide what we're going to do unless, without deciding as a team. It is the board's role to keep our students safe, to oversee budget, to make sure that there's a good plan in place, or help them with their plan, support them with that. It's also our job to talk to the community and talk to the teachers and just be in communication with all the different groups that are interested in and concerned about our schools. How would I approach it? Definitely, I am a supporter. I am a helper. I am, what do we need to do? What do we need to try? I also, really believe you try something and you keep checking the data, seeing how it's going. And if you need to switch gears, you switch gears. Yeah, so I would approach it very much from a teamwork perspective.
Lovely. Thank you, Tammy. All right, over to District E and Elizabeth. And I'll read the question again for you. Please describe in your own words the role of a board member and how you would approach the requirements and rigors of that role.
I believe the role of the school board member is to serve the students and the parents. So keep the families apprised to what is going on and making sure that everybody in the school is learning to their greatest ability and is staying safe. We want to make sure that the students are safe in the classes and in schools in general. And they're in charge, the board members are in charge of hiring and retaining teachers and finding good teachers and taking good care of them in terms of, their pay, the housing, their insurance, making sure that they want to stay here. So we have to keep them wanting to stay here. We have to retain them by giving them the things that they find valuable. And we need to make sure the curriculum that we choose, the board is in charge of approving or denying curriculum. So it's important that we look over and find the best kinds of curriculum that will really challenge all of our kids. And it's going to be for the lower learners. It might be some remedial level curriculum, but we need to stay and keep the peak learners challenged as well.
I think you're still on
Yeah.
time.
And okay.
We will reset it then for Catherine. Did you
Okay.
have another statement?
No.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you. Can we get 1 second off of your time? Already, we're coming to consensus here. Thank you all for being patient with the technology. Catherine will close out this first question with you. Please describe in your own words the role of a board member and how you would approach the requirements and rigors of the role.
Sure. So I'll start with the way that I would approach it because it's the way that I approach most things in my life. I'm a very methodical and analytical person. So when I first ran, the first thing I did was read the state statute because it's very clear within our state what the role, power, duties, and authority of a Board of Education is. And it's incredibly important for anyone who steps into this role to have a full understanding of exactly what they are empowered to do and what they are responsible for. I think that the board currently has set the direction of the district, which is what a board does. They determine the long-term goals and vision of the district. You leave it up to your executive to do the how, to actually get it there. How are we going to meet these goals and how are we going to make it there? The board manages one person, that's the superintendent. They are not responsible for hiring and firing anyone else within this system. They are only responsible for hiring and managing the superintendent. And the board's other major role is creating the policy of our school district. The policy is like our book of laws, our legislation that we have as a district. And that was something that in my first term was a priority. And I'm proud to say we updated our entire book of policy, some of which were 30 years outdated. So that was an incredible feat that the district took on, the board took on, and we've got it there. In your role as a school board member, I agree with Elizabeth that it is students first. That's the direction that this board is set. You can see it up on the wall. Every conversation, we have to have the touchstone of students and the children in our classrooms. And we have to remember that our role is that of accountability. The board is a body that was originally created to hold a system of public education accountable to the students in the classrooms. And so that is crucial and critical. And I will approach this like I do everything else. Like I said, analytically, I also am an executor, so I get things done and I try to maintain a growth mindset. Where can we improve and how can we do this better?
Thank you, Catherine. All right, I was wondering if there's some of the results that's alive and should you go over time? So now we know. Everyone's still with us. We'll go on to question 2 to you, Tammy, and we'll continue down this pattern. And we'll get it on the board for you to read as well. One of the strategic priorities for the 25-26 school year is to increase equity in student achievement. As a potential board member, how do you see your role in support of that priority?
Increase equity in
Student achievement. And then specifically, how do you see your role in achieving that strategic priority? And we might not be able to get those slides up, so please ask me to repeat questions if you would like, and we'll start the time as you start your answer, Tammy.
And just say it one more time, please.
Okay. One of the strategic priorities for the 25-26 school year is to increase equity in student achievement. As a potential board member, how do you see your role in support of this priority?
Well, as a board member, it is, our job to, like Catherine said, is to support Support Dr. Cole, the superintendent, and to hold the district accountable, for meeting the goals that they've set. And so, yes, the goal to increase equity and student achievement is huge. Like, we definitely need to do that. It's very, very, very important. It's going to be very complicated, very complex. And so I believe that my role is going to be, to just help the team, support the superintendent and make sure that the policies that we're putting in place, are good ones, maybe, make sure, see if they've been used other places, understand why we're doing it. And then make sure that we have, follow up and data to see if it's actually happening. And then if it's not, we need to do something then, because if we're not getting results, then that's not acceptable.
Thank you. And because we have so many viewers online as well, they can't see you while those slides are up. So we're going to do it both from moving forward. So we will flash the question up as I ask it so that you understand what's being asked of you. I know they're multi-part questions, and then back so that the streamers can see you as well. Thanks. Which means now, Elizabeth, will go to you with that same question. The strategic priorities of the 25-26 school year is to increase equity and student achievement. As a potential board member, how do you see your role in support of this priority?
Well, I think that in order to achieve the equity and equity and achievement, we would need to give extra help to the kids where it's needed. So in order for them to reach the proficiency levels that we're looking for, some kids are going to need extra help. So for instance, kids who are English language learners, they're going to need extra help in school by learning the English language. And when they come here to learn, reading, they'll need to learn their phonics as well as English. So it's going to be a little extra work that they're going to need. For kids who have dyslexia, for instance, those kids are going to have a disability that needs to have attention too. They need to be tested very early and given a special attention with that. And if they get tested early, they can reach probably the level of normal kids' reading levels, but it needs to be caught early. Other kids might come from disadvantaged homes where there's low income, and they might not speak as much in their homes. So they would need to come to school and hear more words and speak more words to increase their vocabulary. So I would just say, in order to address the equity and achievement, we're just going to have to give a little extra help to those kids who might need it.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth.
Welcome.
Catherine, do you need to see the slide?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
We will get 2 minutes on the clock, and we'll have you address how, as a potential board member, you would see yourself supporting the goal of increasing equity and student achievement.
So as I was rounding out my last question, I touched on accountability, and that is the job of the board. The job of the board is to hold our systems accountable. And also it's the job of the board to assess the systems and determine what is and is not working. And then it is the role of the superintendent to actually make adjustments. So as a board member, I would say that one, I would lean heavily on the newly updated CLDE, the culturally and linguistically diverse education policy that the board recently updated, which now requires an annual reporting to the Board of Education, which includes programmatic reviews. So we understand what's working, what's not working, and how we can shift and make adjustments to ensure that the needs of students are being met. Providing extra help to every student is great in theory, but that costs a lot of money. So what we need to look at is how we can shift programs and how we can staff effectively to ensure that students are getting the help they need. But it also has to be within budget. We can't be unrealistic in what our expectations are around providing every kid the help they need. Our goal, of course, is to do that, right? But we have to do it within economies of scale and figure out how to do it so that we can ensure that those kids that need extra help are getting it. And also those kids that need to be pushed are getting pushed. And so it's really a constant balancing act, and you're constantly juggling the needs of a very diverse population, which is exactly how Dr. Cole started this forum tonight, is describing the strength in our diversity, because it is a strength. And I don't think that this is an insurmountable problem. I have full faith that our district and our incredible staff can tackle this issue, and that we can get there, and that we are making strides and will continue to make strides over the next several years. So I think it's student-focused, data-driven decision-making processes, and a growth mindset that we're representing from the district office all the way down throughout our culture and our systems.
Thank you, Catherine. And also, for audio reasons, if you could all just be a little closer to your microphones as you answer, you don't get right up there, but we want to make sure everyone's hearing you clearly. Jody, do you want that question on the screen or did you get
No,
it?
it's okay. Yes.
Well, we have 2 minutes on the clock and we'll go to you for your role in that 25-26 priority of increasing equity in student achievement.
Yes. I think that starts with teachers. So we need to make sure we're supporting teachers adequately. We need to make sure that the curriculum being taught is effective, but not only that, that teachers have the professional development that they need. I've talked to teachers that have gotten professional development later, 3 years later, 10 years later, and they're like, we're so thankful for it, but if we only had it 3 years ago or 10 years ago. So that's key in making sure that we're effective, the teachers are effective in teaching children. Also, teacher retention obviously is really important. We need to keep good teachers, and that's a whole nother conversation, but those are, salary issues, housing issues. So that's a part of student achievement. I also believe it begins in the home. So we need to make sure that families are a part of this solution, because their families are the first advocate and teacher of our children. So how are we bridging that gap? I know there are things being done. I believe there are language, they're being taught people who don't speak English, there's classes being offered, but let's make sure that they really are, however that works with it, if it's coffee meetings or, just getting them together and really encouraging parents to be a part of that solution. And I know that's always the language gap is an issue. So however we need to remedy that and encourage that with the families. Also, I believe wellness, I'm really big on the wellness thing and just making sure our kids are eating properly, because wellness contributes to their brain, to their stress level. I have a child that really, he was ADHD and he didn't want to be on meds when he was like in 3rd grade. So we took him off that and put him on a really healthy diet. And I think those things need to be addressed because there are so many issues. We have, so many health issues with the children. So those kind of things I think can help improve the student achievement. I'm out of time.
Thank you, Jody. And that was the full rotation for question 2. So we're moving on to question 3 and we'll start with Elizabeth. We do have it up on the screen if you want to jot it down, and then we'll try and move more quickly through it so that we can have the video on as we answer. So I'll read it out loud. School boards work with the superintendent, community, and staff to implement the district vision. What are the top 2 policy or governance practices that you will introduce if you are elected, and why? And I'm happy to read this each time. Elizabeth, this is the question that will go to you first.
Okay, well, let me think here. I think that we would like, I think it's very important to have school safety. I think that's one of the policies I would like to think is top priority for our for the policies, keeping kids safe and keeping keeping parents in the loop of what's going on. So I would like there to follow a policy of accountability, keeping parents in the loop and in charge of what's going on with their decisions for their kids at school. And as for the safety issue, I know that there are 2 SROs right now and a coordinator that helps with them. And I'm wondering if we might want to take a look at, do we need more safety? Do we need more SROs? So if we do need more safety, I think that's a budgetary issue, and we would definitely want to look at that in our budget. If we are talking about possibly wanting to implement something cheaper or something that would be a faster response time, then SROs, I don't know, sometimes SROs have to travel a little bit of distance in order to get to the school if there's an emergency, but another option would be to allow willing teachers and staff, if they would like to do this, is take part in a training where they themselves could conceal carry. And that would be something that would have to be definitely taken into consideration as a policy and agreed upon. But if that's something that they are interested in, that would actually not only save money for our district, but it would shorten the response time, and it would also create for our schools, it would not be as much of a soft target, and it would be a deterrent for any possible dangers that might come to our schools.
Oh, perfect timing. Thank you, Elizabeth. Catherine, we're looking for the top 2 policy or governance practices that you would like to introduce if elected.
Sure. Before I jump into that, I'd like to address the issue of safety and security, because that is one of my priorities when I'm running again. We've done a lot of work in this over the last several years, but I think it's important for our community to understand that this is a community issue. We are funded for K-12 education. We are not funded to police our own schools. And so we need to rely heavily on other local governmental organizations to help with that funding. I don't think it's necessarily appropriate that we are allocating funding that should be going into our classrooms for security. And I think that other community members need to step up and community organizations need to step up in that regard. In terms of the 2 policy and or governance priorities that I would try to get enacted quickly, one would be a policy on board professional development. I think it's incredibly important for every board member to engage in high quality professional development. A school board has an incredible amount of power and they need to understand how to use it and the restrictions on it so that it can be effective. Because if it's not, it becomes a deterrent for the work that the district is trying to get done and can be a very big distraction for the staff that are trying to get it done. So that's the first thing that I would want to do is a board policy on professional development. The second thing that I've been working towards in terms of governance, but have not been able to get done in my first 4 years, is getting student board members to be a part of this body. I think that it drives back to, again, one of our top priorities in our mission, or sorry, our vision, which is students first. We need student voice at this table in this room. I think it's incredibly important. It's a big undertaking just because it's complex in how we get kids here and how we make sure that it's representative of our community. But that's another thing that I really want to ensure happens if I'm elected to a second term.
Thank you for sharing that. Jody, we'll come to you now. 2 minutes on the clock. What are the top 2 policy or governance practices you'd like to introduce if you're elected?
So I would agree that safety is really at the forefront of what we need to focus on right now. And I think that I agree with Elizabeth that honestly, the cheapest way to do it is to train teachers to have concealed carry. There's a really amazing organization out of Denver, and not everyone's going to be on board with this. And it seems extreme, but the reason being for that is that a child or the shooters generally, they shoot someone every 17 seconds and you can't get somebody there fast enough. You can't get an armed security guard that takes at least 2 minutes to get there. So it's just that it is the cheapest, most effective way to protect our kids. And again, I know that that's not something everyone would be comfortable with, but I think it should be looked at. There's a SWAT team out of Denver that actually does the training. They've had 0 misfires and they've had 0 kids see no one has seen their concealed carry. So it's a very effective, inexpensive way to protect our children. So I'm really for that. And I think that we have to talk about that first. I'm always coming back to wellness. So I would like policies that bring wellness to the schools. So, wellness is a large, it's not just nutrition and movement, but it's also mental health wellness. And I think these are really important things that, yes, there are policies in place, but I'd like to look at them and see if they're being effective, if we are involving parents in these things. I think it's very important that parents are part of the solution because we can't do anything without them. So I'm always about bringing the parents back into that.
Thank you. We will reset the clock. Tammy will close us out on this question. Please tell us your top 2 policy or governance practices that you'd like to introduce should you be elected.
Can you explain to me just a little bit, like, what does it mean to introduce? Because I feel like I'm not going to introduce a new thing.
I think that's a perfectly
Okay.
valid answer. I think what would you come to the table and suggest as far as how the governance is happening either at the board or at district level? Or are there any policies that you have in mind that you would suggest? And if you think that's not appropriate, I think that's a perfectly fine
Okay.
way to
Yeah.
take it.
I'm like, well, I mean, when we're talking about working with the superintendent and the community and the staff, I mean, I think it's so hard to say, oh, what would be the most important? Because I honestly think that they're all like, we have to do all the things, you know, or else, yeah, we'll just be lopsided. We'll be strong in some areas and weak in others, which will still happen. But the goal is to be awesome at all of it. I think what you're asking me, the achievement gap is a really, 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 really big one. I think it's very complicated, you know, the achievement gap, like that's what our kids, you know, are facing every single day, every day that they show up at school, they're having to, you know, turn on their brains and I guess not compete with their classmates, but you know, there's a lot of comparing. My son is always, you know, he's very worried about how he compares to the others. And so for a student who maybe struggles, you know, and if they don't read as well or but don't do math well, like that's huge. And so as far as the community, I mean, I'm being part of the PTA and working with the kids and their parents a lot, you know, I did find it's hard for parents to find time to really be involved and to make their kids' education their priority, because usually their priority is, you know, making money and doing all the things that they need to do while their kids are in school, you know, in this place where they trust and they are, you know, grateful for those teachers and those staff who are taking care of their kids and doing a great job. So I would want to work with the kids. Oh, I forgot the other one would be teacher housing. I'm running out of time. I'm sorry.
If you want to get one sense on that, since I know we had a back and forth.
Yeah, we need to be able to make it so that teachers can really feel like they're a part of the community and live here in this community.
Thank you, Tammy. Catherine, we've come to you as our launch for this final question. The Aspen School District currently is asking its voters for additional funding in the form of a mill levy override. How would you feel about the Roaring Fork School District pursuing a similar funding measure to support staff salaries, recruitment, and retention in the future? And give us one moment to get the clock right and for you all to take that in if you'd like. Oh,
Oh, we only have 1 minute for this one.
I'm so sorry. This is only 1 minute.
Oh,
And that will start when you begin your answer. Thank you.
So school finance is incredibly complex. 2 years ago, I earned a certificate in school finance from Georgetown University as part of my professional development for this role. And I think that any board member that steps on should also pursue something like that, because it is much more difficult than just getting more money. Our district has maxed our mills, so that's not possible for us. We would have to pursue funding in the form of a bond or a sales tax or some other funding measure. That being said, I think that we need additional funding. We are one of the lowest funded school systems as a state. Our public education funding is incredibly low, and so there needs to be greater funding so that we can ensure that we are able to recruit and retain high quality staff and provide the things that I mentioned in my opening that are unique to our valley. Housing, healthcare costs are astronomical. Our ability to get our teachers to PD and get access to the things that large cities have is limited. So we need additional funding to do those things. So I would fully support us lobbying the state legislature for additional funds and other funding measures.
Thank you. And I appreciate being kept on time here. 1 minute for this answer.
Okay.
Jody, will come to you.
Okay.
Much like the Aspen School District is seeking funding in a mill levy override, how would you feel about this school district also pursuing that?
Well, thank you for clarifying, Catherine, that that's not possible. So So I guess if we're going to talk about how, you know, to increase the monies in the school district, I'm sure it's very complicated, but we do know that there's been a decline in student enrollment and that does affect our budget. So where are those kids, you know, and there are different, you know, I think there's different reasons. And one is undocumented immigrants are afraid to bring their kids to school. And that's a real thing. I've talked to teachers that don't have kids coming to school for that reason. But I think there's more than that. I think, what if we increase trust in the community that we have excellent schools? What if those are the kind of things that we focus on? Because I think that, you know, if we have excellent schools and we have safe schools, then families are going to want to come here. And I can't say that that's what I'm hearing out in the community. And I want to hear that. I want to hear that we have excellent public schools, and not everybody can homeschool. Not everybody can send their kids to private schools. So we need to have a really excellent option. So, and then I think that'll keep us from losing children.
Thank you, Jody. Tammy, how would you feel about the Roaring Fork School District pursuing a similar funding measure of the override to support staff salaries, recruitment, and retention in the future?
Well, if we could do a mill levy override, I would be for it. You know, I do think that when we want services, we need to pay for them. And a really good way to pay for them, you know, is through taxing. We have to pay for the things that we want. I mean, of countries, they pay huge levels of taxes, and then those taxes go to serve their communities. And I do think we have a lot of like second people moving in who don't necessarily have young children, and that's fine. But I think probably it would be easy, or not easy, it would be okay to ask them to help fund the schools. Like, yes, that they have some discretionary income that we could use for our kids.
Thanks,
Our
Mimi.
teachers.
Thank you. Elizabeth, would you support a mill levy override measure to support staff salaries, recruitment, and retention in the Roaring Fork School District?
I'm open to that idea, and because it's not a tax that's going to be coming from taxpayers, so I'd be more interested in something like that. But I also agree with what Jody mentioned, was that we also have declining enrollment. And I think we should look at that. Like, why do we have this declining enrollment? There's a lot of different reasons. I talked to a lot of people who are choosing not to bring their children into our public school system. And I know that we have great teachers. I know that we have a lot of opportunities here, but I also think that there's some fear there. And some of the stuff that I personally encountered when I brought my son here, I think is scaring a lot of parents too. And that is bringing in a lot of the transgender ideology and doing it in a way that was kind of just under the radar, so the parents didn't know. So I think that the trust, if we could rebuild trust with our parents and community, we might have a better chance of bringing more parents and students back to the community or to the schools.
Thank you all for your thoughtful answers to the questions today. I know they were multi-part and intricate. We now have time reserved for you to give your closing statements. So anything that came up throughout that you'd like to address, or any final thoughts that you want to share with our audience, either here in the stream. This is back to 2 minutes apiece, and we'll switch it up, go the opposite way down. Catherine, I'll start with you.
Excellent. So again, thank you. Thank you for hosting this and allowing us to be a part of this and to share our vision and our voice. I want to reiterate that my 3 children are in our buildings every day. I have every reason to make our schools the best that they can possibly be. And I have every connection to our buildings and to our teachers day in and day out. So I have an actual connection to our school district. And I think that's an incredibly important piece of this puzzle. Declining enrollment is one of my priorities, and I think I'm the first one that brought it up tonight. So I want to address that quickly. We are in declining enrollment. So is almost every school district in our nation. Our nation is facing a massive decline in birth rates. It's not a result necessarily of people just pulling their kids out of school, although homeschooling is also on the rise. We are declining by 5 to 7% nationally by 2030. This is a huge issue and something that's going to have to be planned for and addressed. In terms of increasing funding for our schools, my opponent says she's open to increasing fundings, but her X handle is to doge the schools, which is to literally cut funding from our classrooms, from our teachers, from our kids right now. which I think is highly inappropriate and antithetical to everything that I stand for. I'm a huge advocate of public education, and my entire adult career has been devoted to children and education. And I can't express to you how angry it makes me to think that we would want someone on this board who was looking to strip services from our children. In terms of the health curriculum and the other issue that she brought up, this has been debated, this has been discussed. This was the primary topic of the last election, and our community spoke loud and clear that time around, so I won't waste any more time on it. I don't think it's something that voters want to hear. They made it clear 2 years ago. With that, I would thank you all again for being here and ask you humbly for your vote. I would be honored to serve 4 more years. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Going down the line as we reset the clock. Elizabeth Taylor.
Hi, yes, I'd like to just talk a minute about transparency of curriculum. I still think that we need to bring this curriculum and lesson plans in a place where parents can find them easily and find them easily accessible, and put them maybe on create a database so that the entire curriculum can be seen by parents. I think that this kind of transparency will do a really good job of building bridges back of trust between the community and the district. And I also think that it'd be really useful to put things on there for parent notification or parent opt-out forms, make them very easy to find, and also create a very easy way for the Colorado Open Records Act request to be accessed also through the website. These are things that I think would build a lot more trust with the parents and with the community. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving now to our District A contested race. The 2 minutes on the clock. Tammy will take your closing statement.
I just want to say, schools almost every day, also, and yeah, for years I was in lots of the different schools, and I'm aware that they are very different. But I believe that they'll all be led well by our superintendent and by our board and by our staff. I know I've often been surprised at how parents will come up to me and say, I didn't know we were doing that. I didn't know the school was doing that. And I'm flabbergasted because we communicate everything, usually in multiple ways. And so, I often am like grabbing my head and like, how did you not know? We send, papers home folders with our children every Friday. We do it in Spanish and in English. When the health curriculum came out, we got a letter and came out. I'm pretty sure that was throughout all the schools. So I do think that the schools do a really great job of communicating. And sometimes, as a parent, you have to go in and, meet the staff and say, or, talk to the teachers and stuff so that you find information. And feel comfortable accessing that. And we just want to say, yes, please vote for me. I support the goals and the mission and the plan of this administration and support them to help them. I want to learn. I feel so nervous, but I want to learn, and I will.
Thank you, Tammy. Jody, we'll turn to you for your closing statements tonight.
Okay. Thanks again, everyone, for being here, and also for this forum. I think it's very educational and important for us as well as you. I just want to say that, I just want to kind of hit on the 120 kids that we lost this past year. And that's not all just birth rates. I think there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. So I just have to say, I don't agree with that at all. And so I'm fired up too. Also, what Elizabeth touched on, the accountability and the transparency is lacking. We have numerous people that have tried to come and talk at school board meetings, and they've been shut down, told they can't speak, and we need to be able to have a voice. We need to allow people to have a voice here. And that is a big deal to me. I'm really about communication and collaboration and teamwork. I'm all about that. I might not have all the degrees, but I can figure things out and I would do a good job. And I think that we need to care about a community that is concerned about what we're teaching in health curriculum. And yes, I have a friend today that got the survey went out to her 12-year-old, and they said they sent it out 3 times and she barely got it. And I'm not saying that the school board's not communicating, but there's a lot of things to communicate and some things are really important. Those opt-out things, you better make sure that parents know they can opt out. I feel like we shouldn't even have opt-outs. Like what's in there that you should have to opt out? And so the health curriculum is a very concerning issue to people in this community. And if that, if people really knew what was in, then I think you would have a lot more kickback. But a lot of it has been under the radar. And I want to know what's in curriculum, what's in health curriculum. You talk to people, they don't know. Teachers don't know. We need to know. So that is why I'm running. And that's why I'd like you to vote for me, because I would like to get to the bottom of this. And I want to protect our kids. They're the most vulnerable. They do not need to be sexualized.
Jody, thank you so much. I believe we have one more slide we can put up. Should have any questions. I want to thank you all just for being here this evening, but for the thought and passion we're putting into your time. This race and it's to serve our community, our children, staff, and teachers. And again, I'm sorry my back was to you all night, but definitely to the voters who are here to learn more and then go to the polls this November. I do believe ballots start getting mailed next week, and there's a couple more forms if you still want to keep up with these candidates and this race in particular. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.